Hey guys, how's it going? I haven't done a video on the gasser lately, and I figured I'd catch you guys up, or at least from an official fashion. I did talk a little bit about this on a vlog I did last week, but the gasser is moving forward, and the reason why I haven't done any videos about it is it just kind of looks the same, you know, at least from the outside. Most of the stuff I've been doing to it, and I have worked on it quite a bit the last couple weeks, is that the stuff I've been doing is kind of, you know, detail work. And that stuff just doesn't pop. At least it doesn't pop until the car's done. Now, the first thing I did, and to be honest with you, this did take a little while, is I fit the glass. I don't know if you noticed in my video where I fit the interior in there, I didn't fit the glass. And I needed to do that, obviously. And to get that in, it was actually a good bit of work. The glass itself, I had to trim the parts that you don't see, trim them up. The interior itself, the little walls on the side, they had to be trimmed down. I made it shorter so it would go back, and then I also cut a bunch off the bottom so the whole thing would lower. It took me a long time to get that done. Now also, and this was a biggie, is I have my frame rails now glued in and they're rock solid. This was kind of tricky. I had to do a little bit more work to the base to get these things nice and flat, so these would sit flush. I had to cut a new axle piece that better represented the space between the wheels, so that way the wheels don't move back and forth. And then, now to get it installed, I then taped the hood in place so that I would know that gave me a nice point to really lock down the front of the frame rails. Then I glued them in one at a time, and worked pretty well. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so still stays. It works pretty well. Looks pretty good, I think. I still might fill in this gap here just a little bit of filler. This one came out a little bit more on this side. I'm not too worried about it, but that is something I'll probably do when I get to the bodywork phase. So besides the glass problem, which was just a brain fart on my part, and getting these rails in, the rails was a big deal. I've also been working on details, and the details, they've really been kicking my ass, to be honest with you. It's not that they've been hard, it's just that I keep thinking of new things I want to do to it, and then I thought, oh, okay, well now I got to go through all that again. The first thing I did is I printed up a bottom piece for the motor and a radiator. So, and this piece worked pretty well, but I didn't think it looked very good on the bottom. So I changed up that piece, and it looks a little bit better. I just made the oil pan a little thinner. Put a little chamfer on the bottom of the motor. It looks a lot better, but I still have an issue. I don't like these little legs. They don't really look like engine mounts to me. So I think I'm going to cut those off. And I have a much wider bottom end for the motor, and it won't fit because I need to cut those off. So I got that to do, and I'm probably going to cut those off here in a minute. And also I have all these other little details that I printed up. And this is going to be a master cylinder and booster. I'll break it. So here's a bumper mounted gas tank, which I noticed a lot of gassers were running. I printed out a fuel cell for the back right here. But the problem is I have this, there's this little tube in the front. I really want to cover that up. And that bumper tank really does that. And it looks pretty good, and it's period correct. It's proper for a gasser. Other things I got a little NOS bottle. This thing was really pushing the limits of my 3D printer. This thing is tiny. I wish I had a resin printer, but I don't. I'm looking into it. But resin printers, it's not that they're expensive. It's just that they're a pain in the ass to use. But I'll probably have to get one for little details like this because it'll make my life a lot easier. Anyway, last couple things that I did, I think this is cool. This is a battery. Now normally if a drag car would have this mounted in the back, I think I'm going to mount this in the front, sort of in your typical location for a battery, just so you can see it. I think it came out pretty well, not pretty good. And the last thing, this is kind of cool. It's kind of unnecessary, but this was bugging me. Let's see if I can get this in place without flipping it across the room. Okay, so what this is the top of a bell housing. And you know, you can't see this normally, but it was driving me crazy. Every time I'd pull that motor out, I'm sorry, I keep calling it a motor. It's an engine, people, so don't send me any hate mail, please. So every time I pull the engine out of the car, I'd see this flat spot right here. And it just drives me crazy because it looks so bad. So I'm going to glue that in just to keep my OCD down. And I guess that's it. It's a lot of little things, and none of these are hard to model, and really short print times on all this stuff. But there's lots of iterations involved to getting these right. Like I made one master cylinder too big, and it took me a long time and a lot of prints to really dial in the size of the bottom end of the motor. So anyway, that is pretty much where I'm at. These, I've not installed them yet because they all need to be dressed. And what I mean by that is whenever you 3D print stuff, you get all these lines. So I need to get rid of those lines either via sanding or I coat them with something and then I'll sand that coating down. And that's going to take a little bit of time. Right now, I think what I want to do is I'm going to cut off these little tabs here and see how the bottom end I have fits. It needs to fit pretty flush and also fit within the frame rails. Right now it fits really nicely within the frame rails. So let me go and clip these off and we'll do a little bit of filing and we'll see where we're at. Okay. Now I'm afraid I'm going to have to put these up on this is... So you get the idea. I'm going to have to mount this up on the vise to really get some purchase on it. So let me do that real quick and I'll show you how it turned out. Okay, so I got that filed down and it's pretty good. Now obviously it's got to be painted, right? So don't worry about that. Let me throw it in here and see what it looks like. It is my little lower piece to the engine is a little long, so I need to one more iteration on that. But I like that. I think that's going to do. So it's all loose right now. Okay, I think that's going to do it for this video. I'm trying to keep this one short because there's just not a lot of dramatic changes to the car. I just wanted to catch you guys up, for at least the guys who are interested in this. We're moving forward. I've got pretty much everything printed, although I will have to print another one of these that's about a 0.5 millimeter shorter. That's like a 5-minute print. And then we're going to start with prepping this for paint. And like I said, the first thing is to get these 3D printed parts smooth. Then I'll have a little bit of work to the body and we're going to paint. Now my next video is actually not going to be on this car. It's going to be on, well, hold on, let me get it, I'll show you. Okay, so here's what I've got. And my next video is actually going to be a repaint of one of these poor Mustangs, which is probably the ugliest color scheme I've ever seen on a Hot Wheels car. And that's saying a lot because there's some ugly ones. And I'm also going to repaint one of these Nova gassers. It might be this one, might not. And this one doesn't have any interior, unless of course I can squeeze the interior out of this Mercedes. It's over here somewhere. That would be funny. It's not too far off. It's going to be smaller, so maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll put this interior in this car and find another engine. Like I have these guys right here. That'll fit in there. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to go too crazy with that project, so it'll be a quickie. Because mainly I want to do is test my process with the paint for the Mercedes. I got these Candy 2.0 colors. This is Tequila Yellow, which is going to be on the gasser, hopefully, and then Grabber Orange. So I'm using a different process than what I've seen other YouTubers use. At least I'm going to try. And we'll see how that works with these two cars. And we'll go from there. If it doesn't work, we'll just have to go with the more traditional look, which I'll have to test out also. Because I've never used these Candy 2.0s. So I don't want to do a paint job on this until I'm confident that I can get it done properly. Well, that is what's coming up, at least as far as customs go. I'll probably have some other videos in between. Okay, this thing is moving forward. Hopefully, I'll have this wrapped up by next week or the week after, depending on how long it takes for these other cars to get done. But it's moving along and looking good. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time, all right? All right, y'all take care.